just wanted to start, Phil, by thanking you for taking the time to chat with us here at the Christian Beat.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Love what you guys are doing. Seen some other shows, so it's super cool to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to start with Miscarriages, which is your most recent release. Um, you've already shared that it was a personal kind of lyric that you were inspired by friends and those that are close to you. But do you want to
hmm
just kind of touch a little bit on like when you knew you had to write this song, or this song was one that you were felt called to write?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I was getting ready in the morning, taking a shower. I don't know why I always get great ideas. It's kind of like my secret weapon. Um, and so I was just getting ready, and the idea just hit me. And like you said, and like I've shared a couple of times before with other folks. Some friends of ours specifically. So we have my wife and I have a set of twins, our firstborn and secondborn, and they're 2 years old now. And so some friends of ours were like, "Hey, we're pregnant, we're having twins." And we were giving them our stuff, and all like when you have twins, it's crazy. You have to buy two of everything, um, and usually the same color so they don't fight over it, and all that stuff. Uh, or you think they won't. It's a madhouse, but it's so fun. But anyways, these friends of ours were pregnant with twins, and we were giving them things, and we were giving them all the tips. Here's how you want to do the schedule. Here's what worked for us, or what we could do. And anyways, in the middle of that process, my wife got a phone call from the mom that they had lost baby B, and baby B is the in the pregnancy world means the second baby to be conceived, second to be born most likely. Anyways, for us, that would have been our son. And it just really hit home, after thinking that through. And so, yeah, I was getting ready that morning and had the thought, like, oh my goodness, I need to write a song for parents, for people who are grieving in this. And I think having a miscarriage, we've not had one, thank God, but it seems to be like an isolating experience for a lot of people because you don't ever see them or meet them. Um, and there's not a grief process that's like normal, you know? And there's not pictures, all of those things that we associate with grief and mourning and loss. So yeah, I just had that thought, like, I really need to make a space in a song. Sometimes I think songs are like rooms we step into that are furnished with different things that we can grow from, glean from, or interact with, and I really wanted a song that was like a safe space for parents, especially who are mourning, and many people. It's several miscarriages. I had one friend text me. He's like, "Bro, we've had 10. We've lost 10 children." And I was like, "What in the world?" So it's been neat hearing the messages, as people have kind of stepped into that space, with Jesus, to get that perspective, because I think that's one of the beautiful things about music is, and worship too, is it's a perspective shifter. And you go from thinking about something to your perspective being changed. Oh my goodness, my baby's not lost. They're in heaven with Jesus, and I'm going to meet them someday. And you go from belief to knowing. And yeah, so that was kind of the heart. And sorry for my very long answer, but to sum it all up, it was the shower.
Yeah, no, it's always interesting to me, especially on the tracks and the songs that have such personal meaning for the writers. They
Yeah.
sometimes need to take out their specifics. And so it was interesting to hear this story for this song where it was kind of other stories that were informing
hmm
your lyrics and
Yeah.
writing of this song. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. I was texting with this really great writer, named Tony Wood. He's written a lot of great songs over the years, and he texted me. He's like, he heard the song, and he was like, bro, I'm so sorry that this had to be you to write this song, thinking that we had it happen to us.
Mhm.
And I had to explain, no, Tony, like it wasn't us. But he's like, and he replied with, but you know what though? He's like, that's what we songwriters do. We emotionally become surrogates, so to speak, and carry the burdens of others. And I think there's a scripture that says, bear one another's burdens, and in this way you fulfill the law of Christ. And I think that that's a beautiful thing, as just being brothers and sisters in the Lord, is that we get to, and as songwriters, that's one of the ways that we get to do that. And anyone can do that with any gift they have. That's just the particular way that I like to do that as a writer.
Oh, absolutely. And you
Uh-huh.
mentioned something earlier in your response about songs being rooms that you kind of step into. I'm
hmm
curious of other songs that you've written, have there been others that kind of stand out with that room concept for you that, you kind of like step back and take it all in?
Totally. So there was one I wrote 5 or 6 years ago that randomly ended up in government spaces, and like Fox News did a story on it, and national news. It wasn't like local. I was like, what in the world's going on? Um, and I got to play it too at Times Square. Focus on the Family did this thing called oh, what was it called? Alive from New York. And that unplanned movie had just come out, and there was a really big push in the pro-life movement, and a lot of those folks grabbed a hold of this song I wrote called "Not Forgotten," and it was the same thing, very similar actually, except from the perspective of um, a child who'd been aborted, and it was kind of a, hey, don't, what about us, or hey, don't forget about me kind of song. And that one, I mean, you want to talk about mourning and grief and loss. Most people who have gone through that, when they get older, they realize it clicks, or they meet Jesus, or something happens. They have a big life moment. They realize, I should not have done that. And so that room was also a safe space, because life happens. Everyone makes mistakes. Everybody messes up. Everybody does things wrong. We all fall short of the glory of God. But we really need to interact with the truth of God's mercy and what He has to say about our failures and flaws. And that song really, I think, gave people a beautiful opportunity to not just do that, but also to give them a chance to say, okay, I'm going to step up and be the change and intercede for America. And it was pretty neat to see, I even got messages like from a U.S. representative, like, hey, my dad's working on the heartbeat bill, and we're playing this song in the background while he's writing it. And I was like, wow, that's so cool, to just see what a song can do when people are given that space, like a room to step into, And obviously, worship songs, and I've written a lot of worship songs over the years, and written with a lot of different great writers. And I think that's exactly what they aim to do as well. And those rooms, you've experienced it, like when you step into a nice coffee shop or a nice restaurant, you just kind of go like, like you're just chill, and you're seeing things different. You leave in a better mood. And I think that's what all songs should do, that Christians are writing, is lift them up, and get their focus on Jesus and the truth of God's word, with and especially with real life stuff. So I really, really enjoy getting to do that. And sorry my answers are so long.
Oh, no, no, no,
I'm
you're
drinking coffee.
Oh, no, it's fine. And I'm
Yeah.
curious for you then, once you've written a song and you've kind of interacted with it for a while, it
hmm
gets released and listeners start to have their interactions with it. How does that
uh,
impact then the song for you? Like, do you often find they kind of change meaning for you as you kind of see and watch that happen?
yeah, that's a great question. Um, you know, I think, like, for example, with Miscarriages, I knew that I was writing something that was going to hit deep with people, but sometimes you don't know how deep, especially when you start getting feedback and messages. and people posting life stories with the song and things like that. Sometimes it's even hard to read, like I can't even talk. I just start crying. And I think that changes it. But really, like when I release a song, so first there's like a process of where like I'm living with it first and praying over it, like should this go out or whatever. Usually me and my wife are having those discussions. Like the number one greatest influence on what I put out might be my wife. And that's a good thing, because she has this perspective and she knows me better than anybody besides Jesus. So it's cool, and she says, "Hey, I really think," and she had a strong thing with miscarriages, especially as a mama, with that song. So there's always a process of me living with it first and like, okay, should this go out? Should I change something? What's the timing of this? And then, yeah, once it goes out, I think what I tend to do, honestly, is just like let it go. And, and I have to do that because, as a writer, sometimes it's shocking what goes and what doesn't, and you think like this is going to be amazing, and then it's just like that. you know it's just so real. And then the one that you put out that you like, you don't even invest in much, and you're like, oh, whatever, it's a throwaway, it just like goes, and you're like, well, okay. So you're definitely right on. There's a process afterwards where it's like, okay, I know I was living with this before, but now it's like growing some legs and is running, and I need to run with it and steward it, and just be a good steward and interact with it well, and you know um, interact with the people well as they send messages, and pray for them even. There's a responsibility, when you put out a song, I think, to like God opens doors to people's hearts to connect with them when you put out a song. And I really, the older I've gotten, when I was young and kind of just like, flying by the seat of my pants, I didn't really pay much attention to that part. I was like, oh, music, yeah, but music is a door to people's hearts. And I've really, the older I've gotten, really have enjoyed that part, and the life that it takes on more and more.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you again, Phil, for taking the time to chat today.
Yeah, yeah,
Really enjoyed getting to hear more behind miscarriages and just songwriting in general.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.